Welcome everyone to the show, Combustible Elements, real talk for real people. Here we try to put different ideas and perspectives together in a pot, heat it up, and get an explosion of knowledge and understanding. We understand that problems can only be fixed starting from the bottom to the top, building a great foundation for change and improvement. I'm Big Mel, and I'm joined by Ruben, aka the Monarch, and Aaron, the Hitman. Let's get started. So, thank you everyone for joining us at Combustible Elements. Okay, I'm excited today. We have a guest. I always get excited when we have a guest, but we always are the testosterone driven show, mostly male. So now we get a female perspective, and we have a female perspective on love and relationships. But this particular time, she's actually a professional. So we're going to allow her to introduce herself. Oh, I digress. I'm Big Mel. There's Aaron the Hitman, Ruben the Monarch. This young lady is going to introduce herself, and then I'm going to hit you with the topic, and we're going to go right into it. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. This is going to be juicy, guys. So y'all going to want to chime in, like, and share. My name is Focus from the Focus of Love, and I absolutely love love. So I'm here for this hot, juicy topic tonight. I'm a love coach, I'm a life coach, and I'm a business coach just by nature. Wrote a few books, a few ebooks. We're gonna definitely leave my website. You see it right there by my name, focusjames.com. You can click on there and download my ebook, which is 8 Hacks to a Purposeful Life. And you also get a 30-minute complimentary consultation with me just for watching this show. So I look forward to spending time with each and every one of you. Thank you, Melvin, for letting me introduce myself. And thank you, Aaron, for having me. And nice to meet you, Ruben.
Thank you
Oh,
for being on the show. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
yes, we do. So let's go into our topic. Our topic is love enough for a relationship to last? That's our topic. We got a whole bunch of views. I'm damn sure not going first on this because I am the antagonist in this situation. I'm gonna tell you from the door. So we're gonna let you go in because you're a lady and you're our first female guest, and
Yes.
this is your wheelhouse. Let's hear what you have to say
Awesome.
about it.
Oh,
Focus.
yes. It is. Is love enough? Absolutely not. Love is not enough. It can't pay the bills. It can't sex you down. It can't hold you down. Actually, it's also emotional and mental intelligence that you need to do those things and to actually build a life with a person. So, love is not enough. You also need compatibility. Just because you love someone and it's the woo woo, don't mean your paths are it does not mean your paths is destined to be together, that you can build together, that you can raise children together. So it's a laundry list of things that allow for a healthy relationship, and love is simply one of them.
Okay, Aaron.
So I'm a agree. Love definitely isn't enough to sustain a relationship. I
Mhm.
think that a lot of people stay together because of love, and they think that that's all that they need. But I'm gonna agree with Focus. Again, it's a laundry list of things that you need to sustain, endure, and thrive in a relationship. And love is just one of those components. And that's something that you can build off of, but that's not something that is going to ever last the relationship.
Mhm.
So I agree with Focus on that one.
Ruben.
Man, I'm gonna have to be the third person to agree with that also, because I just feel like when it comes to love, like we got this. It's a feeling. It's like love, anger, hate. It's just it's something that you have. You know, it doesn't necessarily. It's not the only component. Like Aaron and everyone else said. It's basically it's a part. Like it's like if you got a car, and you have a steering wheel, but you don't have gas or brake. Like you need it can guide, but you need gas, you need brake, you need other components besides just having a steering wheel. So love is just a component of a car. It's a component of a relationship, but not the all in all be all.
Okay. So this is going to be the first time this ever happened. We all agree. 100%. And we got a guest, so it's not even a trifecta anymore. It's just for all four of us to bring.
First time for
Okay.
everything.
The first time for everything. Now, to what you're saying, no, love was never enough. You know what I mean? That first raw love, that first emotional love that you have, that first person that you love that people keep going back to and destroying their damn lives just from sitting from the outside looking on. And I say to myself, why do you go back to that person, that passionate love that you felt, and then that person just constantly destroys your life? You can't get anything, you can't have anything, you can't move forward, you can't keep a job, you can't have a conversation, and then you like, but I love him, I love her. I mean, for what? I tell people all the time, and I'm gonna be real, I tell people all the time, at my job, I had an opportunity to talk to new hires, like as soon as they got the job. And it's a pretty good, stable job. It's a career job. And I used to tell them all the time, listen, you ain't gonna wanna come in all the time. You're not gonna wanna come in at crazy hours. But you know, you only gotta do that for 4 or 5 years. And then you all right, you know what I mean? So that person that you home with, there's certain things that you gotta do. You don't let them come in between your money because you need your money more than you need them. And he used to look at me like, that sounds so mean.
Oh, Lord.
But we live in that.
Wait a minute. We got to back up for a second. Let me make sure.
You do.
So you telling the new hires, choose your money, don't choose your boo. Is that?
No, I said you need your money more than you need them.
Oh.
Now you can choose your boo.
Okay.
You can choose your boo and y'all can rise up together. But let it be known, nothing is going to come in front of your money. Because at my job, a lot of times, and actually, it probably happens all over society. Okay. When men want to punish women because they feel insecure about what they make, the first thing they do is act like they can't watch the kids. So then the person can't go to work. And then the person can't keep their job. That's why it's always the issue with women in workforce and childcare. Because a lot of men do stupid stuff. Now, that dude that's doing that, he don't love you. Because if he loved you, he wanted to grow with you. So put your priorities in the right place. You know, so I would tell people that, and I would be serious. And the second thing I would tell them, I would be like, don't be so quick to tell them you get paid every week. Because everybody else is getting paid every 2 weeks. A person that feels like you're supposed to be together. No, I mean, you're laughing. Yeah. And it sounds vicious when I say it, but it's just the reality. A person that you're supposed to be with, that you're supposed to do stuff with, if they know that you have stuff all the time, they're not going to say to themselves, oh, well, maybe it shouldn't be like that. Maybe we should do stuff together at the same time. They're going to say, well, you have it, so you should do stuff for me. And they're right. But now, because you have it every week, you're using it more. You know what I mean? It falls from being communication on how to doing something to being expected of something. And I used to tell them that too. And they used to look at me like, damn, why you say that? You just so mean. You sure you married? And I'm like,
I'm thinking about your wife right now. And I'm like, oh my Lord. Is she all right?
I disagree with you.
Okay.
You was the minute you started going left on me now.
Yes.
No, I'm just saying, like sometimes until you find out what you have and before you assess the situation, then you can't really do certain things. Sometimes you have to, I don't want to say you have to protect yourself, but you have to look at a situation. And a lot of times when you all stirry-eyed and in love, you don't look at a damn situation. That's why they say you don't know nobody till you live with them. You know what I mean? And when they say stuff like you don't know them till you live with them, you don't know whether they're going to pay the bills. You don't know whether they're going to clean the house. You don't know if they're going to be able to compromise with you. You don't know if you're going to be able to just sit down there and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, I can't roll with that though, Ward. Melvin Ward here. Let's slow down for a second, unpack what you just said. Because you're teaching the youngins to withhold information and manipulate what money they getting paid and stuff. That's going to be a foundation.
I didn't say manipulate. I just said don't say every week. They bring their check home, just bring it home in 2 weeks.
Every week, every day. It is what it is. The person's going to ask you what they ask you, and it's your responsibility to take care of your coins and go, here's what I'm willing to share, here's what I'm willing to date, here's what I'm willing to pay, and have that conversation, whether you get paid daily, weekly, or very weekly. You know, it's
Now,
a conversation that need to be had. We don't have to withdraw information, is what I'm
and now that's true. But now when the situation changes and you get pay raises like every year or every
Yeah.
6 months or 8 months, and the situation is constantly changing, then that conversation constantly changes. So whatever you were doing before,
Yes.
you got those changes, that should stay consistent until later on when you decide to do that. Because people decide for you. And that's what my issue is with that. Why I say that. Don't be one of those people that decide for you. Like I'm telling you, at my job, we done had so many crazy relationship meltdowns, and it's always
I'm
over
sure.
time
Mhm.
and it's always over money. You know what I mean? And people just assume that is always the main protagonist is the person doing the job because they come in contact with people, but it's not that. It's the problem that you can't communicate. So maybe I should say the communication is the most important thing other than whether you love somebody or not. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna give you an example because I was thinking about this when we started this conversation. For all the people before I even start with my point, that's going to be like, he a caveman. He want to go back to them damn ages where women were disrespected and maligned. No,
Okay.
I'm not. What I'm going to say is relationships lasted longer before, whether they were arranged, and it's degrading. I'm a goat for your daughter or something like that. It's degrading. But you were expected to have relationships and you were expected to be with that person. And they didn't have love in those relationships. And sometimes they did grow to love that person because of familiarity, because they were around them, because it was other factors involved in it, like how the family viewed it, because you were letting the family down. So, do you think a lot of relationships don't work because people feel like it's okay for their relationship to fall? Because I have other options. That's how people think. They like, I have other options.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was coaching a couple that was, they were dating and they were contemplating marriage, and they were like, well, let's just give it a try. So I said, well, I can tell you how that's going to go. And they were like, what? I'm like, I can tell you how that's going to go. That's going to fail. And they were
Okay,
like,
now I'm gonna back you up for a second.
well, before you back me up, let me finish that statement. Because anything you try, you're going to fail. You got to make up your mind to complete it. You have to make up your mind and decide. The marriages you're talking about back in the day, one, they decided to be married to death do you part. That's a decision. And once you make that decision and take on that act, you're not going to be angry for 50 years. So you have your argument, you settle it, and you move on. But if you've given it a try, that's why half of this country is divorced. They're trying it out like it's a job or a career change. Whereas though if it's a commitment to life, to death do each other apart, to we're going to build each other path, that's a different level of commitment than just casual, we're going to give it a try. Because you already got one foot out with the option to not stay in by giving it a try. So marriage wasn't for them. And I recommend it. We don't need to look at marriage right now. We need to look at your decision of how you're contemplating that this person is for you and who are you to them. That's what we need to look at first. And what's your definition of marriage? So now let me hear what you guys say.
Okay, and then I'm gonna shut up because I can keep on going. So I'm gonna shut up after this and let them say something. But I'm gonna make 2 points. Okay, you had me write down. You had me use 2 different pens, one in red and black. So the first point was, how in the hell do you say, and I agree with you, that's what I was going to back you up. I was thinking to myself, well, what the hell are they trying?
Yeah.
Because I was like, how in the hell you try marriage? Either you want to be with that person or you don't want to be with that person. Like, I don't get that. The second thing that I guess it's going to be 3 things now. The second thing that I was going to say was going to be like, oh yeah, it's some people that can be mad at your ass for 50 years. Like, I don't want to be in this situation. I just don't like you. And they carry that every day. So it's some people that can be mad for 50 years. It's counterproductive.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But there are a lot of people that's like, They just don't like their situation.
I'm not gonna be mad at nobody for 50 years. I can. You could just got.
Well, you may not be mad at somebody for 50 years, but there are relationships where people be mad at people for decades for like the stupidest damn thing. Okay. Now, what I was going to say after that, and I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say after that. No, I wasn't going to say nothing about that after that. So what do you guys have to say? I lost my train of thought because I didn't write the last one down.
Well,
Okay, so
Ruben, say, you giving people misleading information. I mean, because they a new hire at your job don't mean that they new in their relationship or new in the stages of the love that they have in their relationship. And then off the bat, you telling them, you know, you need to start keeping secrets or start withholding information.
Well, now hold it. In my defense, I listen to them tell me about their lives. And then I start adding stuff. I don't just automatically start off. Hey, it's your first date. Nice to meet you. This is what I want you to do. That's not how we start.
You ain't say that at first. You was trying to give me a job at where you work. And a first day on the job, you would have been giving me misleading information.
Well, you would have been a dead duck at that time anyway. I let you know that right now.
No, but
you don't listen to what I said.
Like you said, I mean, like you giving advice, and I guess people are always in different stages of love. Even when you're with somebody for a long period of time, sometimes the love fades, sometimes the love grows. It's like an ebb and flow type of situation, depending on the couple in a relationship. And I believe the strongest relationship that I've been in is one that we have communication about everything, including finances, including, you know, things that go on. Like you said, finances, how much you get paid, how many vacation weeks you have, you know, how many sick days you have, things like that. It may seem like minuscule, but just having an open line of communication, I felt being in various relationships, I felt that helped me build stronger relationships and having a better line of communication with the person that I'm with. So,
okay, I have a question for you. I'm gonna cut you right off because I got a question for you. I'm gonna leave focus right now alone. I'm gonna have a question for you. You brought up your vacation days and your sick days and this and that. When you sit down and you have that communication, do you let that person know that those sick days and your vacation days are your damn days because you earn them? So if you want to use them, that you should be using them on yourself, not on any other type of thing going on.
Again, that's a conversation that you have. Like I have sick days. And if you have a family event or there's a family event, you want me to use a sick day to go to a barbecue, I have the option to say no. Sometimes
I didn't say family event. I said for you. I said because a lot of people think that those days are just for like the relationship or the family, but those days are your mental health days, and those are the days that you earn because of the job that you do. You're doing that job.
Again, that's a conversation that you have.
Right. So I said, okay, so you had that conversation and you mentioned that those days is what you want to do with those days.
Yeah, I have the right to use my days the way that I want to use them.
No, but
all right, well, step up and say it. Don't try to don't hold it in.
That's the conversation. They're my sick days. I have 4 sick days. I have 4 sick. We don't have 4 sick days.
We got 6 days. Look, I'm gonna be honest. For me, like Mondays are days that I have off. I like having Mondays off. I've always had Mondays off, but I no longer have Mondays off. Mondays are just days that I don't work. Mondays are days for appointments. Mondays are days where I got to run errands for everyone else. Mondays are days that I'm just doing stuff. And chances are, if I'm doing something for me on a Monday, it's like after everyone else has already been taken care of, and it's late at night. And it might be, 8, 9 o'clock, and I might be able to head to the gym and work out or do some type of activity for myself on Mondays. But Mondays are no longer my days for me to like do stuff for me.
And how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's part of life. I decided to get married and I got kids, so that's just what it is. How I feel about it it's not necessarily something of relevance. Once you get married,
it is a part of relevance because it's a part of your relationship. It is a part of your relevance.
I guess the communication part of it, it should be there where it's like, hey, listen, Mondays are my days, but realistically, they're not.
Well, I mean that, and you're okay, and obviously you're okay with that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be okay with that.
it doesn't matter
because
whether
I
they're
just
okay with it or not.
yeah, well, that's true too. I'm just saying that sometimes in relationships, people and we veering off the main topic, but in
this, this,
relationships,
this,
sometimes
this is the part. This is the part when we talk about love and all the different components that matter in relationships. It's kind of like it's like that give and take. It's like, all right, if I'm not okay with it, then I gotta start speaking about how I'm not okay with it. Now that's gonna start a conversation about something else. And it's like, okay, well, what about this and this and that? So it's kind of like, all right, well, I'll give up my day off,
okay,
and
you
then
compromise, and that's okay to compromise. But I mean, the fact that it starts another conversation, that conversation needs to be passed on to everybody anyway. Like that next conversation that bridges off the first one, you need to have it anyway.
I
You know what I
agree
mean?
with you, Melvin. I agree with you
All
because
that,
it starts building resentment. It starts building
right?
resentment that you're not your own individual and inside of a relationship. So it could even look like it's 4 Mondays in a month. The first and the second Monday is mine, or the second and third is mine. The other two I commit to the family, right? So obviously you hear the need for you to take people to appointments and do some other things to run the household, but there's still got to be some healthy me time. And it's so okay to go, listen, on Mondays, y'all got me from 9 to 1. After that, 1 to 8 is my time. Love y'all all. But if you want me to be happy, efficient, and work and doing who I am as a man in our relationship, this would
Or as a woman, they need
well,
me
right now we
time
talk
too.
about Ruben, but yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Whoever the gender is, right? We got to speak up for ourselves because it causes resentment. It's caused us to, like you said, now I'm not going to roll a dice to have that conversation because that's going to bring up 3 other conversations I don't want to have. And then there's an avalanche, whatever that word is, where everything's
right, an avalanche coming down. And I've been that person where I just wanted to avoid conflict because I don't like conflict all the time. Like,
sure.
I like to, and that's fine, Aaron. Is that fine with everybody?
Yes.
We sending messages to each other. Okay, so I don't have to go in right away. So I can slow it down a little bit. But it does cause I don't like conflict. But I mean, if you don't tell somebody how you feel, how do you expect them to know how you feel? Like even now, I'm a cancer survivor. You don't know this, Focus, but I'm a cancer survivor. So some days I feel good, some days I feel bad, some days I'm just fucking irritated, aggravated, like excuse my expression, just because of, I got a lot going on.
Sure.
But, if I don't sit down there and, project that to the people around me, how do they know how to deal with me in that moment? So I can't hold it against them if they're not dealing with me in the right way, because I don't even know how to deal with myself in the right way. And I'm not projecting that. That's why you need that time, because brings me to my next point. People think you just supposed to stay the same way you are your whole entire life. I think that is one of the dumbest statements I ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody grows, everybody advances in different ways. It may not be a direction that you like, but people change. That same person you met in their 20s ain't gonna be the same person in their 30s and 40s. So you can either compromise with the change, or you can say, well, I don't like this change and I ain't gonna be bothered with you. But the fact that you sit down there and you don't expect somebody to change, because you hear it all the time. Oh, you're not the same. Who the hell is the same 2 decades later? Nobody's going to be the same 2 decades later. So how do you guys feel about that?
That's a qualifying question. So when you say change, in what way? And if I didn't change, what would you like it to be? So that's an open-ended, that way that person can fully express what is it they're talking about that's changed. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. And many people aren't growing. They're stagnant. So although they may not see the change might be you're not growing. And that might be what the upset is. It's like, where are we going in life? This relationship, you've been at the same job 15 years, make the same money. So the question might be like, you've changed, like, Mina, where is your ambition? So those are just, those types of statements beg for an actual conversation.
So this is actually a conversation I had with my partner, like probably the beginning of this week.
Well, I'm just cutting all up in your life today. Go ahead, keep on talking, brother.
About people that change and the way that if you're compatible with each other, you kind of change with each other. So like it's an ebb and flow. So even if I'm up here and she's down here, we're gonna meet at some point in time, and it just
Correct.
flows like that. But when you stay, if I stay up here and she's staying down here, or vice versa, then that's when people start looking at you like, you know, you changed, and you're not the same person that I used to be with, or you know, like the energy or the vibe just changes, and people just have to understand that like Mel said, nobody stays the same. So either you're
And,
changing together, or you're just not willing to make that adjustment in order to stay compatible with your partner.
and I'm gonna jump on what you just said. I'm gonna piggyback on what you just said. I'm just gonna clarify something with you, just to make sure we're on the same page and I'm understanding you. When you saying like you may go up here and she down here, or she may go up here and down here, I think somebody listening to this would be like, yeah, they on different levels. Nah, they not really on different levels. What's really going on is they're expanding their life in different directions. They got new interests, new things they want to do, but they're coming back and talking. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you're up here and then you gotta, you're only going to come back down if you're willing to come down. So you have to be willing to understand that that person changed. And some things you just gotta like, you got to walk away from, like some arguments that people have, you don't need to be having them because somebody got another hobby. You know what I mean? Like they got another hobby. They're not running around. They're not a drunkard. They're not spending all your money in gambling. They may do like go to a knitting class, or they want to go with their girlfriends and learn how to do salsa or something like that. And you didn't want to go, and you were asked to go. See, people forget that too when they were asked to do something, and then they decided not to do it. But they got new stuff added to their life. And you got to say to yourself, just them having a new hobby, is that enough not to be with the person? A lot of times people don't think like that. They just be like, damn it, I ain't wanted to do this. I'm looking at it from Mel's point of view. Damn it, I ain't wanted to do this. Okay, but she may be happier doing this. Did you take a second to think about that? And I think a lot of times that people don't look at that. So I was just making sure that we're on the same page with what I just said, Aaron, where you're not really above or below. It's really like y'all on the same level. Y'all just coming and branching out to different things, but you always like this.
Right.
And that was just my main point with that.
I think it could be either way. You may not always be on the same level. Someone might have a burst of growth, right? Maybe finish a degree, or like yourself, you may have had a huge epiphany going through cancer that your spouse just wouldn't have because she hasn't had that experience. So you may have a new lease on life, a new thought pattern about what life means now, simply because you had that level of experience. So in that area of what is the meaning of life, you might be really potent, you might be really in awe, and she just not there simply because she hasn't had a life or death experience, or vice versa, right? So you may not always be like right there with one another, but where the compatibility is the willingness to listen, watch that person grow, and go enlighten me, so that you can come up to that area of like enlightenment, if you will. Maybe we should word enlightenment instead of different levels.
Okay, yeah, that's a better word. And I actually thought about this back when I was a preteen, or like 14, 15, when I said to myself, I don't never want no woman that don't work, because what we gonna talk about when I come home from work? How was your day? And when I ask how was your day, you're gonna be like, oh, I just sat down here and watched Days of Our Lives. So I was considering that in relationships long ago, where you have to have something going on. Otherwise, if you don't have nothing going on, and I wanted to grow, then how do we grow together? Because first, it's got to be self-growing. The relationship grows together, not necessarily the two people at the same time. You grow in spurts at different times. Okay, so that was my point on that topic. I have another topic that I want to ask, and we're going to start with the men. Ruben has other responsibilities, family, so he might jump out of here during this conversation. Don't worry about it. He's not evicted. We all got certain responsibilities. So and like I said, we're going to start with the men. What is the difference between loving someone and being in love? Because I don't know. To me, that never made sense to me. Either you love a person or you don't love a person. But I'm going to get to my portion later. Rube, you can start first.
I think the difference between loving somebody and being in love is like, okay, so I'll say for me, like you can love someone and meaning you care for them and you care for their well-being, you care for their emotional status, you care you care for providing for them. But the in love part is when you care more for that person than you care for yourself, or you care more you care more for yeah, basically you care more for someone else's well-being, to where even if it's detrimental to your own self, and it's like you don't even think about anything besides that person, like you or anything else for that matter. It's like the sole focus of you being in love is essentially like, yo, you live and die for to make that person feel however they need to feel to make themselves feel good, even if it's detrimental to you. No, regardless if it's detrimental to you. That's my view of the difference between being in love and loving somebody.
Boy, you lucky you gonna have to go soon. Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
All right, so off the bat, I'm gonna disagree with Ruben. So we back to the disagreeing part. Because I mean, honestly, like
a regular show.
Like, I'll do anything for my children. Like I will live and die for my children, and I love my children. I'm not in love with my children. So the fact that he said that you would, live your life for that person that you're in love with, that's the part that I disagree with, because like my mom, my immediate family are people that I love. They're not people that I'm in love with, but I will put my life on the line for them, especially my children. So for me, the difference of being in love and loving somebody, again, like I love my family, I love my friends. Being in love with somebody, learning and understanding energy and understanding the power that you have within yourself, it's an intertwining for me. It's an intertwining of energy that you have with the person that is your partner, is your spouse. So that's the difference for me, because I can, if I'm with somebody and I'm in love with them, I feel like our energies are intertwined, our mind, the way we think, the way we move, the way we act, we're intertwined with each other. But I can fall out of love with somebody and still have love for them.
Yes.
And that's just me, not, our energies aren't intertwined anymore. Like I'm not connected to you in that way anymore. But I still have love for you. I don't have any ill will for you. I still want the best for you. I want you to thrive and be the best version of yourself. You just not touching my energy no more. We're not together. So for me, that's the difference between loving somebody and being in love with them on a higher level.
Okay, so when you were talking, all I saw was like a picture of the galaxy and the solar system, and in love, and intertwined, and lights flashing, and the infinite void, and it was so sweet, so poetic.
Hey, that's what it is. That's how it is.
Here come my real. Okay, my real is. Let me go back with Ruben. Ruben sounded like he just talking about passion. That's what Ruben really talked about. That was my perception of it, because that, like, when you first meet somebody, that connection, those feelings, when they spar into you, that drives you to that person. It's love involved. If love is there, it's involved. So I'm not saying it's not, but that's more passion. And I'm not just talking about the sexual passion. It's more of like the connection when you just first meet, and you just bring out all that. You need to be around them all the time. That's what he was like saying. Now, as far as like doing for them more than you do yourself, yeah, a lot of times when you love somebody, but that's not in love. When you love somebody, you want to see them succeed. So sometimes you may take a hit somewhere, you may take a loss somewhere. And I shouldn't even use the word loss. You may put yourself in a situation that's not really good for you to try to make the situation better for them. Which really, if it's better for them, it should be better for you too. You know what I mean? And for really, that person shouldn't want you to put your, if they love you too, they shouldn't want you to be in a bad situation all the time for y'all to like succeed at other stuff. So I don't know what he was talking about, but we're gonna skip over him because he's gone now. But what I do, I will say about that, because it does confuse me about that. When you love somebody, you know, and you used the example with your kids, which I was going to use, so I had to scratch that off my list. So thank you, Aaron. You use that example. You love your kids, you love your family members, you'll do anything for them, but you're not in love with them. So I'm virtually confused about that. Like, I love my wife. I'll do anything for my wife, but I can't. You know, somebody say you in love. I'm like, I love her. I mean, it ain't no in between. It ain't no different variation of that. So I always like, I'm looking like, are you speaking another language? And I just can't comprehend what's going on. So I'm gonna let you answer that. And then I have no, actually I'm gonna make the damn statement too. I tell people all the time, you can love somebody to death, but that doesn't mean you're gonna like them all the time. You know what I mean? If you're having a bad argument, you don't like that person.
Yeah.
If you're going back and forth or they doing something you don't like that person. Does that mean you don't love that person? Does that mean you won't do for that person? Does that mean you don't have a future together? No. And that's how I look at whether you in love or you love somebody. You know, it fits in the same category to me. Like, some things I just think is people just making up phrases for the Webster dictionary or something. Like, what the hell is going on? So
Yeah.
what is this is your wheelhouse. So what is your view on this focus?
Yeah, well, it's so many nuances to that, but the long and short of it is you can absolutely love someone and not be in love with them. You can have love for them, meaning like what they make you feel is near and dear in your heart. More so, being in love with them is now it's the way you want them to feel is so overwhelming. Back to Ruben Point, that you'll do anything for them. So
Okay, so just to cut you off, because I'm still trying to understand.
yeah,
Your
sure.
your definition of in
Mhm.
love is you want not just that you love that person, but you want that person to project their love to you. So you
Well,
can
actually,
feel that they
I said it the other way though. Like, so, loving someone generally it's an exchange, right? Because we only love people that makes us feel loved and lovable. Let's not get it twisted. See, we're in love with people because of how they make us feel. Because you'll hear people say, "Oh, I can't get enough of them. I love being around them. I so can be myself." It's normally me. It's what the relationships cause me to dance, feel like a man. I'm a better woman around him. He helped me to grow. I was able to deal with my daddy issues. It's still all about us. And I know a lot of people, it's hard to kind of wrap their brain around that. It's because they make us feel whole, complete, growing, understood, loved, respected, right? Being in love then also takes it to another level. Now I want to fulfill their needs. Back to what Ruben said. That's when he's like over the top with it and maybe made you kind of like, whoa, right? But
well, I mean, for me, feeling like I love you, I want to fulfill your needs too. Like, you know what I mean?
to
So
a
from
certain
what you
degree, to a certain degree, because an in love person will go get a loan, will go extend themselves. Will an in love person, a young man, when I was married, I got married at 18 to a 21-year-old. We both love God, and that's another part of this topic. But loving God ain't enough either. You got to have, again, that emotional intelligence, the ability to be compatible. And he literally worked overtime for months to get a down payment to buy a house for us to get married. I mean,
ain't worried about that. I did that for years. I
thank
ain't
you.
worried. We got months.
Thank you,
I got
Melvin.
years,
But
man.
here's the point. Thank you so much. You're an honorable man as well. I'm sure your wife knows. But part of being in love is that he worked so much. He was exhausted so many times, falling asleep in church, falling asleep at the wheel of the car. We had to talk him out of that because his mind was, when I marry my wife, we're gonna have a house and we're gonna be able to come home from the wedding and put it, because he was driven by his desire to fulfill that, right? Many men do that, like you just said, right? But that's what in love does. It'll take you over the top of what you would normally do to express your gratitude, the comfortability of that other person. So it's a different level of dedication than loving someone.
Well, I feel like now you done cleared up the question. Well, then hell, I'm in love then. 'Cause I be doing it. So now you done cleared it up. So I got
Yeah,
my answer to the question now. So thank
yeah.
you.
You
I
are right.
I never knew. I used to look at people like, huh? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
But now I got my answer. Okay. Now you know, I was gonna kill somebody on something. I'm gonna leave that alone. I was gonna kill
Okay.
somebody on something.
Okay. It looked
But
like Aaron, you were gonna say something. Excuse
Oh
me.
no, I mean, I the counterpart to that, the fact that you were saying, he was willing to work overtime. I've been in situations like that where, you're just motivated and driven by love or being in love with this certain person. But
Mhm,
when you experience, not saying that you didn't or you weren't in love with your husband
mhm.
at the time, just experiencing somebody loving you as much as you love them or being in
Yeah,
love with you, they won't let you overwork yourself in that way.
correct.
So
Correct.
correct.
they would, like you said, you had to stop him from driving because he's
Yeah,
asleep at the wheel. But
yeah.
the overtime, the hours, I mean, at one point in time, I was working overnight and I wasn't really sleeping. I was sleeping 2 hours, then going training, and then dealing with the kids, and then
Mhm,
eating, and then going to work at night again, and then doing the same thing all over again.
mhm.
Just being with somebody that was in love with me, but just expressed it in a different way. But then when you're in love with somebody that reciprocates the way that you love them, it's just it's another ball game.
Yes,
It's
it
like
is.
going from playing baseball to football, you scoring touchdowns all day
Yeah,
long because you're
yeah,
receiving the love that you're giving out.
yeah.
So people who are in love or people who love you, just experience it or show it in a different way because that's what they're used to or accustomed to, or they don't know any better.
Right. That is such a great word. They don't know any better. And I think a lot of people just don't know any better. And one of the things of answering our question tonight and our topic is love is enough is really clarifying, is this person willing to grow? Do they have the capacity to grow? It's really important to find that out very early on when you're dating. When they get a new job, like Mel was talking about the new hires, are they gonna actually study the way they're supposed to study? Are they going to pass these tests that's required? Are they the person that read the emails? Why? Because life is ever changing, and we got to be able to be malleable. And in relationships are changing. So if this person is stuck and they use terms like we always do this way, this is just how
Mhm.
we do it, you know. We from the hood and we're gonna always be from the hood. I'm just
My
trying to
mama
survive.
told me.
My mama told me, listen, run for your life, because that person most likely is stuck. And that means if you're on a path with a stuck person, you're on a path with a stuck person. So you got to really look at how frustrating that will be in years to come, where there's different stages in your life. Because right now it might be just you and that person. But then when children come, that's a whole nother level of responsibility. And that's a serious level of responsibility because you'll see childhood traumas come out when you're actually trying to raise children. Uh,
Yeah.
and last part, and definitely I want to hear your thoughts about this, Melvin. Even a lot of Christians, Muslim, Jews that don't want to have sex before marriage. I'm never doing that again. Just not doing that again. I need to know that we're compatible because that's 7 billion people. You the only one, and we incompatible. There's gonna be some trouble. So in my
Now,
opinion, that needs to be addressed in whatever way you think that needs to be addressed. That part is so important to be able to not only communicate but have scrumptious, juicy sex with the one person you saying you're gonna pick for the next 50 years. So it's some real topics that we got to talk about. And also, last thing, respect. You guys need respect more than love. So, what is the female definition of respect? How does she give it? How does she receive it? What does she understand about that? When she's angry, is she still respectful, right? Or we calling each other names now, right? So, these some really juicy conversations to have during the dating stage where you're not all googly eyed yet and you're filtering versus and vetting versus trying to get to the aisle and trying to get the ring on the finger.
Okay, so you
Oh,
covered the
I know you write stuff down. I ain't write nothing down. I just gotta say it before before I lose
yeah,
it.
yeah, go ahead.
So it was two things that stuck out to me, and I agree with you, Focus. But it's something that needs to be talked about knowing the person and hearing the way that they talk. And if you see that they're stuck in their language, then you have to know that they're probably going to be stuck during the course of the relationship. And one thing that people have to get out of their mind is the fact that they think that they're capable of changing people. You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
change anybody unless they want to change. And that's one of the biggest things that messes up relationships. People get into relationships and see the red flags and they're like, well, maybe I could help burn those red flags down and put them on the right path. And no, like you're just burning down your own walls
Energy.
and
Yeah.
building up new walls that's going to make you be messed up in your next relationship.
Exactly.
And I lost the train of thought for the second thing that I was going to say. What was the last thing that you said?
Respect.
Oh, that's another thing. So a lot of men don't even know what respect is. And it's not coming at men. A lot of men think they're like alphas or what they feel like respect is. And it's a toxic masculinity definition of what respect is. And we had a other show on masculinity, but it's a lot of men who are out here displaying toxic masculinity, and then they want their women to show them respect in ways that it's not even respect. It's just mental for them to make them feel like that they're being respected, but that's not really what it is. And when they don't receive that, then they lash out and they do things like cheat or disrespect their women.
Yeah. Well said.
Okay, so you jumped on a lot of different. Well, I was ready to jump on a lot of different topics, but I'm going to start with respect. That wasn't going to be how I started, but I was going to get to the juicy, but I'll start with respect.
Wait a minute. We want the juicy. We always want the juicy.
Well, no. We'll finish respect too, because he brought up a good point, and it's two things that I want to say about that.
Okay.
Part of that respect is a lot of that respect is established on how a person carries themselves in a relationship, because a lot of people, as you say, masculinity, I don't even think it's just masculinity. I think the times, like you'll hear females all the time say they're gonna get that bag or whatever. Like, what the hell does that mean? Like, you already putting yourself in a position where you're saying like you want finances, you want this man to do this stuff from you, and you don't care what you're doing or how he does it, and then you think he's gonna treat you a different way because you projected yourself as a piece of property. That's what that person is going to do. He's going to treat you like a piece of property, and vice versa. So I think the respect thing is how you project it. Now I don't know how old you are, Focus, but I'm old. I'm a few years older than Aaron. So I mean, I'm approaching 50. So when I was like 14 or 15,
I'm still in my 30s.
Yeah, well, young boy. So when I was 14 to 15, females carried themselves a certain way, which made men have to, like, if you wanted to be with females, if you were attracted to females, the ones you wanted, you had to act like the kind of dudes that they wanted to be with. Yeah. So you take that masculinity, all that other bullshit that they do now, and you put it in the back, you just let me be me, that stuff they say now. No, you wouldn't have did that back then, because this was the only way you was going to be able to be with this female. And if you were attracted to her, that's what you would do. So that respect thing goes to not just the guys acting a certain way, but the females acting a certain way, because you draw certain people. And then that brings me to the next point. And I think we talked about this before. We were talking about kids and parenting. We did a topic. And my biggest thing, this country does not teach kids what is expected of them when they become parents. They don't teach adults what's expected of them when they become parents. And they don't teach them what's expected of them in a relationship, because even though all relationships are different, there is a baseline to go by. There are certain things that you should be aware of before you just get in. Like you getting into a relationship and you winging it at that point. You know what I'm saying? And then because you're winging it, stuff is going to be lost in the mix. You know what I mean? You're not gonna know what to do in certain situations. Or like one of you guys were saying, like you try to change somebody, like you can't change somebody. If somebody wants to change for you, that's different.
Right.
But now by that same token, if that person decides to change for you, change from you, or she decides to change for him, you should love that person more because they changed what they were doing for you. So you should value that person. You didn't just win a battle. You won the damn war and you don't even know you won the war because they were willing to flip what they were to accommodate you. You know what I mean? Because it would make you happy. And that's not addressed either. And I'll get to the juice. I'll give y'all a chance to answer so I don't ramble on, and then we'll go back to the topic you made about relationships and testing stuff out beforehand. So either one of y'all, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think a core belief for many relationships is when men and women get together, specifically in marriage, in my opinion, men are hoping she won't change and she hoping he will change. So, right? So right there's a conflict, especially after a woman has a baby. She is absolutely, but she physiologically has changed. Her body has changed. So to think the woman's going to be the same is a fallacy. She might not even realize how much she changed, right? So just the hormones, especially if a female breastfeed. So just recognizing that the relationships need to be malleable. You got to understand how, I love the word you keep using, Aaron, the ebbs and flows of relationships. And I think a lot of people are really shocked, 6 months, a year into the relationship, like, who is this person? Specifically when a woman has, children and the male is just not prepared. And he's like, when is it my turn to be taken care of, right? And just really helping. And when I say prepared, he may not know to dance with this particular woman, right? Like, what does this look like? Now that we had a child, she's not the same woman. She isn't. And it's not that it's okay that you ignore that. Like Ruben said, hey, what happened to my Mondays being off? And it's so okay for him to sit her down and say, listen, I love our little crumb snatcher, just like you. Right? But he or she is a reflection of our love. So this little dude can't take you up 24/7. Okay.
Okay.
We to be together. He's just an expression. And about 19 years from now, he's gonna be out. And we're gonna be
hopefully
like, who are we to one another? What you say, Valerie?
I said hopefully. Hopefully,
right? So it's important that we keep that relationship still at the core. Because this country says your children come before your husband, your man, your boyfriend, and that's just not the case. And I think it sets children up for this attention level they think they deserve and need beyond dad, and it's not healthy for the whole core of the family. Because these crumb snatchers should not be coming before our significant others. I don't think they should. And children need to be able to learn their place, and we don't need to constantly pacify these children for the sacrifice of the relationship.
Okay, now I'm gonna this is the first time today I'm gonna disagree with you. And I'm gonna disagree with you on two different points. Okay. On the first point, no, I'm gonna do the second point because you ended with the crumb snatchers. When it comes to the kids, let's call them what they are, the kids. So if they're younger kids, yes, that woman is a different person. She's taking care of her kids, or she has priority. She carried them. She has that connection. They are the priority. Okay. And I'm okay with that. Now, when you say that, I'm assuming you're saying once they start getting to an older age where they could be more involved in their own life and their decisions, and then they shouldn't come in between the relationship. Because yes, even though you have kids, you still have a relationship and you still have needs that need to be met. Yeah. And if those needs aren't met, you're gonna have a problem somewhere. You're just in our society the way it is, you're gonna have a problem. Correct. Now, as far as me, when you were talking about men having to like sit down and understand that, a woman have a baby, she breastfeeding, maybe she doing this and this and that, so the relationship will change. And I think you saw me throw my hands up like, that's freaking common sense. Like, first of all,
it's not so common. Not so common.
But if she has a baby, even though it's your baby and it's your baby together, that baby a part of her, she carried the baby. That baby comes first in her mind. It's
Mhm.
probably gonna come first in her heart too. And it should come first in her heart because that baby, when you look at your kids are they don't judge you, they just love you.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? That's how it all starts. And the
Mhm.
sad thing is a lot of kids that become messed up adults because they just love their parent or that's their first love, and then they learn negative things or they learn that the parents messed up. And that's just the downside of it. But she's gonna love that child more than she loved that man that helped her get that child, at least for a couple years. Now she can
Mhm.
swing back at some point, but that's just the natural progression. So when people say, "Oh, she changed, she had a baby and she changed," like, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen? Like, I'm just like, I have no understanding of that. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So that's my
Well,
disagreement with you on that.
I'm a little bit on the other end. Well, first, my first degree is in early child education, and I was a preschool teacher for 7 years. So I'm not just talking about my experience of having two children. Actually three. I actually lost one. But what I'm speaking of is even as a mom, you still need to have your individual self. You still need to have a relationship with your man, your husband as well. And the fallacy is that you don't for the first couple of years because it's all about the kids. And that is not the case. And I think that's what causes the pendulum to swing so far over that she thinks she needs to sacrifice herself to be a mom. There's been plenty of babies born before, and plenty will be after. You don't have to sacrifice your individuality as a woman because you've had a child. But this country tells these soccer moms, to have all these responsibilities and wear themselves out and get lost in our children. And we become these helicopter moms. So it's not healthy. And I don't agree with it. I think she still needs a date night. She still needs a massage. She still needs to be able to connect with her husband.
Oh,
Out
I agree with all that.
Right, having a babysitter, but also speaking and allowing for her to be in therapy about her fears about being a mom, address. So she's still an individual, but I think in this country we don't allow ourselves as women to be an individual that needs to have needs met once you become a mother. That's supposed to be your end all be all, and that's just not the truth. And that's why a lot of women suffer in silence. They suffer with postpartum depression because love ain't enough. Loving that child is not enough, just as like and loving your man ain't enough. There's also other parts of you that still needs to be fulfilled and doesn't have to be downplayed because now you got birth or now you got a husband. You still are an individual. All of us are. And that's the part that still needs to continue to grow, whether you're in a relationship or not. You can
Okay, so you just went back to the main topic when you said love is not enough. But I did say I was going to say something about the juicy juicy. So
okay.
what I'm going to say about that, I mean, relationships, see all these ideas of relationships, they go back to the centuries, millennia old ideas. And those millennia old ideas don't translate now. And they didn't translate down then. Like you said, you want to test drive something before you do it. You learn through experience, you better test drive it. If you're with somebody and they're a willing partner, they will elevate that game too. You don't just have to elevate your money game. You know what I mean? You elevate that game too.
Yeah.
If you want to be with that person, you want to please that person.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when these people had these wives that nobody else touched, and it was the main focus, they got to be a virgin, let's get married. Those guys was in the brothels all the time. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And they were always in the brothels. They had the reason why they had the brothels.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all I'm gonna say about that. So people can decide what they want to do in their relationship. It's their relationship. You decide what you want to do. But we went back to the main topic when you were like with the kids, and then they find out that love is not enough. Which is it enough? Is love enough for a relationship to last? And the truth of the matter is, no, it never was. It never would be. There's other factors that go with it. And if you're willing to spend your life with somebody, you should take the time to get to know them and talk about these topics before you officially decide to spend your life with them. So I want to thank Ms. Focus James for joining us. FocusJames.com, right?
Yep. FocusJames.com.
If you need some help, she's here to help you with relationships. If you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to advance yourself, she's here to help you. I want to thank also Aaron the Hip Man for hanging with us. You know, he's always there. You know, Ruben the Monarch, he does what Monarchs do. He whatever the hell he wants, so he left. King Ruben out of here. Uh, but if you like this show, if you have anything that you want to say, you have some questions, we're on social media. We out here, you know, send a message on our YouTube channel. We do answer them. We do read them. We don't just record and be like, huh, okay, this was a good show. Let's go. So no, we're always looking to talk to somebody. So if you have something you want to talk about, please come back, talk to us, like and subscribe to the channel. If you need some advice on something, Miss James is here for you too. I want to thank you for taking your time to join us, Miss James. Focus. I appreciate you. Hopefully, we'll have you back because this was a good topic. This is a fun
It
night. So
was.
I would love to
to
have you back. And we
Yes.
come and talk about some other stuff because
Okay.
these relationships, well, these people need help out here right now. They going bad.
We are,
But
yeah.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. Excuse me, I got tongue tied. I want to thank everybody for joining us for Combustible Elements. I look forward to talking to you in the future. Have an amazing day. Peace.
Everyone, bye-bye.